Welcome to Divine Revelation, the Book of Light, Book of Books, and Savior of Mankind. If you think that is too high a claim, then listen to my words and decide for yourself. The Book of Light is the only scripture on earth that does not say, I am right and you are wrong. No, the Book of Light says all scriptures in the world are right, in essence. And this essence is revealed in the Book of Light so that people, religious fanatics and others, stop chopping each other's heads off and study the Book of Light. And then even continue to practice their own religions, but now with correct understanding. Bear in mind that the cosmogony of the Book of Light covers 311 trillion, 40 billion years. That is one cosmic activity. I can only throw numbers at you. To fully verify them, you would have to study the Book of Light. Thousands of pages of truth. This is a secret teaching regarding the evolution of the entire world, meaning visible universes, invisible universes, Rupa and Arupa, including their inhabitants. The Book of Light was dictated to me by the Mahachohan. Even some highest Dhyani Chohans have not yet penetrated the mysteries beyond the boundaries of the Book of Light. That includes the visible cosmos and that from which everything emanates over and over and over again, causing a so-called Big Bang, which is not really a Big Bang, but a reawakening of uncreated, constantly timeless, eternally existing powers. There is no extra cosmic God who created this insane world and then claims the world to be insane. It's the greatest heresy one could say when he says God created this world and then punishes us for doing what we do. Wake up. Follow the instructions of the Book of Light by beginning to read it so that you keep your own opinion for the while that you read it away. Try it, it works. You will find a use, a benefit, a positiveness of the Book of Light given to us by the Mahachohan. We talk here of beings that were of divine origin and of communication or emanation of spiritual and higher intellectual selves into us, in us. They gave us our own higher principles. Now listen, you as a monad, in essence, are uncreated, timeless, eternal. But when you leave the source, driven by desire, you are clothed by other hierarchical beings, higher in the hierarchy than you, so to speak, with clothes so you can function in material world. So what basically happens is everything reawakens again, driven by desire, and falls into Mula Prakriti, root matter. And there is immediately surrounded by matter, adjusted basically in the structure reflection on its own desire of the monad. And then others add giving you their sheath and vehicles and vahans and upadis so that you can function in the physical world. If you want to call them creators of your body, you may so. You may do so. But the essence is uncreated. In essence, you were always there, manifesting periodically through all the kingdoms of nature, as we will see here. This is a simple teaching, dear friends, fundamental teaching. In order to understand the entire universe, it suffices to understand the 7 principles of man. Because that is the connection with the 7 principles of the universe. Glory to the Book of Light, of course. These 7 principles in you are, so to speak, a likeness, a copy of the 7 cosmic principles. As above, so below, as below, so above. Actually, these principles can be considered to be an offspring of the 7 cosmic principles. And of course then limited in action, working through us, under the law of karma. But dear friends, glory, glory, glory to the Book of Light. Because we all are running back to our origin. Where is our origin? Where is it? Beyond the world of appearances. Exactly there. And that's where the Book of Light leads you. But in order to understand where the origin is, you would have to understand what the origin is not. So that you can find through the labyrinth of anatta, the eternal universe, back to the origin, which of course can be easily found if you have your desires a little bit in control. Or if you drop all your desires, which is almost impossible. For a few, yes, it's possible. So, you can decide. The Book of Light guides you. It shows you the principle. It shows you where to go. You cannot attain true detachment without true wisdom and knowledge, uniting all religions in the world, ending the struggles and fights. The Book of Light reveals these principles of man. In philosophy, they are reckoned as 7. Explained by human, spiritual, psychical, and so forth. But we go much deeper into this. Much deeper. But let us pay respect to the Christian, to all religions. Because all religions are like knives. You can peel an apple with a knife and offer the apple to somebody and he will say, "Thank you for the apple," and eat it. You can also kill him with that knife. The decision is yours, not the knife's fault. Dear friends, wake up by listening and by putting aside for a while your own opinion. The Christian philosophy reckons man as body, soul, and spirit. They don't know the difference between soul and spirit. Doesn't matter. They may think that there's a difference, but they don't know what it is. And then they say, soul and spirit are the same. Glory to the Book of Light, which reveals you are not your body, you are not your soul, and you are even not your spirit. Who can fathom it may fathom it, dear friends. For billions of years we have led into a direction of thinking that may have been necessary in order to survive in physical world, in material world. But now I declare the age of rethinking, of thinking in a completely difficult reverse direction. That is very, very, very difficult, dear friends. Why? Because the thinking in which you have been educated has a momentum. When I come here with the Book of Light, there may be 10 or 20 of you in the entire world who say, yeah, that's true. Everybody else may also say that's true, but in him or her will be a rebellion against this teaching. They will say, it can't be. I've been educated in a completely other, different direction. That was necessary, may have been necessary. Welcome to the true new age, to the true new age. Because the Book of Light is super old age. But it introduces the new age by reawakening that old and holy and utmost knowledge about origin of man and universe and its destiny. So, you are not is better to say what you are. And that also, misunderstanding of such words have destroyed true Buddhism. Thanks to the Book of Light, but also thanks to Mahatera Dr. Georg Grimm, true Buddhism is reawakened again. By saying you better don't look for what you are. There is no self-finding, no way. But there is a method that you can detach from what you're not, and then comes the truth. Solve the riddle. Let's look at the Jews. In their tradition, they have a fivefold or fourfold dividing or division of man. The highest they say is a spiritual. They call it neshamaha. The second they call ruah. And the third they call the nefesh, which is then, we will see, the astral soul, the vital soul. And the fourth is the guf, the physical vehicle. They say this is the house in which all the others dwell. It's true. It is also the house in which the monad dwells. The one that has to attain control over the 7 principles. That is not possible in one life, dear friends. Therefore, we have been everything. Mineral, plant, animal, now man, many times. And when I'm silent now, it has a certain reason. I am silent, or silence. I am silence and silent. For a reason. That is where you came from. So if you want to have empirical knowledge of your true source, you better meditate each day. Soul breath meditation, as is taught in the Book of Light, as is taught in its branch scriptures, divine message from the true God, and so on. During these presentations, I will mention many Sanskrit terms. You are well advised at least to study some Sanskrit, as is taught in the Book of Light, so you understand what I'm saying here, but I also point towards the true meaning of those words, who are often misunderstood by even Sanskrit teachers. Glory to the Book of Light, Book of Books, Savior of mankind. What is the Book of Light teaching? It teaches that the base of everything, the physical body, and I tell you right now, in order to attain truth, you don't have to leave this earth and the physical body for one step. You don't have to become pseudo-esoteric and say, we fly now through the astral world and through the etheric world and to this heaven, that heaven. They do exist. But if you do that and don't see the things from the basic on, you will fail. So let's start with the base and the basic. Like you build a house on the fundament, no? First the fundament, then the rest. That fundament is Sthula. Sthula. The meaning of that term is coarse, gross, not refined, heavy, bulky fat. And you will see that by understanding the evolution of man, you'll understand the evolution of the universe. Because the Book of Light teaches that prior to physical evolution, there was a refined etheric. But we begin now at the other end because it's important. We only have the physical body. Most people who study this, of course, they have also the other bodies, but they are not aware of it. Through the study, by using the physical brain, you will become aware of the other sheaths and bodies that you have sooner or later. Sthula Sharira. What Sthula means we know. What is Sharira? You can say it is something that means dissolved, easily worn away, transitory, foam-like, full of holes. And this is very important because it shows and points towards the monad who you really are. And I will point over and over again to it and towards it. Because I can tell you, what arises and passes away, you can't be. Otherwise, you would not be aware of the arising and passing away. Solve the riddle. Let's go to the second principle in you that you are not, but through which you work in the physical world and in higher realms too. That second principle, the Book of Light calls Linga Sharira. It's Sanskrit again. Model, pattern. It's called model or pattern, or it means model or pattern. That forms the model or pattern on which the physical body is built. So if any, in this transient world, you are formed around, built around the astral body, Linga Sharira. It's basically composed of porosity. It's whole, it's foamy. I will come to this in other parts of the teaching. Linga Sharira. This is of great danger. The dweller of the threshold is built of that. Storehouse of your desire, of your passions. They torture you over and over again if you want to get rid of them, to which this teaching will lead you. And the more you teach us, it may happen first that in you will experience a rebellion of the Linga Sharira. Of all these desires you have yielded throughout millions and billions of years, being mineral, plant, animal, man, not only on earth but also on the moon, solve the riddle. We go deeper because you see, we started with Sthula Sharira, the physical body. We go deeper with Linga Sharira, the astral body. Now we go a third step deeper. The Book of Light is very precise. It goes now to prana. Prana. This is the life principle. What is the life principle? That contains the life urge, the thirst for life per se. And we will come later to that, explain it in detail. Prana. We use it generally. we go deeper. We go to the fourth principle, from below. Or now, from below to above. If the below we call the first. Karma principle. That term means, Sanskrit, desire. This is a driving, impelling force. It's colorless. It's neither good nor bad, dear friends, but what you make of it, and that also applies to the example with a knife. See this also as a knife, and what you make of it by using the mind, that's what color it attains. All these principles have been given to us by other powers. According to karma, when you touch Mula Prakriti, root matter. Something else I forgot to say. Excuse my bad English and the imperfect way of passing away that perfect truth. I am Lanu. That means student. And I was the Maha Chohan dictated that to me. And I tried to pass on that perfection to you. So who is our guru, not me? The Book of Light is our guru. Glory to the Book of Light. And if I'm sometimes so emotional, basically not the right way to pass it on. So I apologize. I try to be a bit more calm and neutral. We have arrived, the 5 principles from below, to insight. Manas. That is the mental activity. It also means to think, to cogitate, to reflect. Manas. Deeper we go, deeper we go. We reach Buddhi. That is something that is very, very, very high. It's still material. It's still physical. It is so super refined, non-atomical. Yes, there is matter which is non-atomical. Guess what? Solve the riddle. This Buddhi has its origin in Bud, Sanskrit, in the root Bud, which means basically to enlighten, or better said, to awaken, and thus to understand. Dear friends, when we understand what we are not, when we truly understand it, then we are ready to detach from it. If we do it prior to it, we risk insanity or many lives of suffering. Solve the riddle. Now there is a term Buddha, and all I'm talking to you here is about Buddhism. The secret teaching of the Buddha, woven into the Book of Light, passed on even by the Buddha just to a few of his disciples. Now that past participle, Buddha, means one who is spiritually awakened. He is no longer a zombie. Like most of us still are, we are zombies. Living dead. Behold, dear friends, now we come to the highest sheath. Atman. Atman. Through which you could say, derived the German Atmen, to breathe. Because it is an expanding principle. It expands and contracts. That's why we breathe. But it's still not you. It is still anatta, not the self. But It is the highest of the self, universal one. And it takes on attributes, but driven by the monad. And attaining these different aspects, who then are strengthened and supplied by hierarchies in manifestation. Dear friends, even great theosophists like Professor Dr. Puruka said that the root of Atman is not known. Uncertain root. Its meaning is that of self, but that is wrong. You could call it self and manifestation to a certain extent, yes. What do we mean by self? We mean that which is attached to non-self. That which is attached to the fleeting, arising and passing away groups. To our 7 bodies. You better quickly think that, if anything, you are the one who is attached to. And using Sthula, Linga Sharira, Prana, Kalma, Manas, Buddhi and Atman. And the highest Atman in the universe is Brahman. Yet it is a being in manifestation. And therefore not yet it. This, dear friends, is how the Buddha became teacher of man and gods. You will see why. What is beyond Brahman? Para Brahman. Para means just beyond. But that beyond cannot be described. It comes when you detach empirically from everything that this beyond is not. And we left this beyond. This beautiful, wonderful source. Driven by desire. Driven by ignorance, by not knowing about the painful of the transient world. Glory to the Book of Light, dear friends. Glory, glory, glory. And thus, of course, the highest is also connected with root matter, with Mula Prakriti. But when at Pralaya, at cosmic rest, we have again the 3, which points towards Holy Trinity, later abused by the Church and so forth. 3 are all beings, Mula Prakriti, root matter, space. And what else? I named it already, space. All beings, root matter, space. These 3 interact periodically. And then all beings fall out of timelessness into time. Time is nothing but the awareness of transiency of matter. Nothing else. The moment the spirit, I call it for now spirit, falls into matter, matter attains form, surrounds itself like magnetic iron powder around the magnet, and there you are, surrounded by matter, by transient illusion. But when I said Mula Prakriti, Para Brahman and Brahman, I meant that there is an interaction. And that leads directly to the nebulous clouds in the universe where scientists don't know what is that. When a spiritual being, be it of a planet or otherwise, let's say of a planet right now, leaves the source and falls into Mula Prakriti or root matter, it causes in the first step a nebulous structure. There you have it. We will come to that in detail. Yeah? Now, when a human being incarnates into the womb, for now, let's say, because we are separated into genders, to the female womb, it does not develop as a physical being, per se, visible. But it falls into the womb and emanates from inside outside as ethereal, astral, super refined being. Then, after a while, manifesting as the fetus and the embryo and so forth. All that will be revealed in divine revelation, the Book of Light. And when we reach inward, during meditation, we reach that knowledge, and then we are ready to detach, if we decide so. Can truth be found in materiality? Oh, yes. By understanding that you are not the material. There's almost no other way around. Incarnation for incarnation, you try to find yourself in the material world, and the material is always ripped away from you over and over again. And you reincarnate again, driven by what? By desire, which can be equalized to ignorance. Dear friends, glory to the Book of Light. Glory, glory, glory. And many gurus have taught, excuse me, dear friends, and this coughing reveals two things to you. I had a very heavy Lungenentzündung. I don't know the English word for it. It has to do with the lungs. It'll come to me. Pneumonia. Yes. Plus, this coughing shows and proves something to you, which is universal and of high occult meaning. Namely, that you are not the body, you have just a body. If I would be the body, I would not like to cough. I would say I cough later, or whatever. But I'm not the body, so I had to yield to it. Now, how does the universe come into life? The explanation of scientists is more than poorly. It is childish. Yes, they have gained some control over material world by controlling the symptoms, not the cause. They don't know about the cause. And when, like in Houston, the water just rises 1 meter, all the computers and all their knowledge and all their wisdom is worth zero. Because these people don't know the cause. They only know the effect or the effects. And the Book of Light is the other half of a knowledge that includes scientific knowledge, but it enlarges it and completes it. It completes it, dear friends. So now, how does the universe come into life? The same way, I said it already, how a human being comes into life. And a human being comes into life like a universe. A slight difference is the universe does not reincarnate per se. You could say it re-embodies itself. Because reincarnate means coming into flesh. Now, reincarnation, reincarnare, into flesh. So the universe re-embodies itself. Over and over and over again, and it is the sum total of all beings, rather of their desire in and for material world. So the universe re-embodies itself following a matrix, which is uncreated, timeless, eternal, always there. Now, when we say man is the product of his former life, better, of his lives, in the same way, so is the universe. A solar system, a planet, an animal, an atom, for the very great as well as for the infinitesimal. For everything that we are aware of, and not. Also of that we are not aware of, but which exists in manifestation, in transient manifestation. A planetary angel, including its hosts, bear in the same way a load of karma, precisely as a human being. The Book of Light, the teaching of the Book of Light relates to an evolvement process from inside to outside. And thus, it is drawn again at the end of activity into inside. What means end of activity? Nobody wants to die. When the outer shell dies, it gives us a message. You do not belong here. Return to the source. Then why did we leave it? If it was so beautiful in the source. Ignorance about the suffering aspect of transient world made us leave the source. And we will be something different when we return to the source if we have overcome all desire for transient existence. This is a mystery, a miracle. It can be experienced right here and now in meditation, soul breath meditation. This is a great mystery, dear friends. Everything emanates from the point to the circumference. There you have the circle and the dot. It's all mathematics. If teachers would have the knowledge of the Book of Light, mathematical teaching in schools would not be so boring. They would say, listen, this is not just a circle and a dot. That's quite boring. Oh, well, that's a circle and a dot. Okay, do you have a new computer game, Or what else can we do? No, the circle and the dot reveals a huge mystery. The in life coming, the again in life coming, or re-embodying of the entire universe, from the center to the circumference. So, from that central point, the first being that appears is the central sun. In order to understand that, we would have to study the Book of Light. I can only give hints here. Through the central sun, we can have union with the source. Because you see, when the Buddha returned to the source, he had to pass through the first emanation, Brahman. And his first manifestation is what we could call a central sun. If we are here, a physical being, or if anywhere else there's a luminous, ethereal entity, there's per se no difference. There are always principles in action linked to the highest principle in manifestation, called by the churches, without them knowing it, God. And yet they don't even mean that. At best they mean a race angel of the Arabs or of the German, of the Greek, or a planetary angel. When they say Jehovah, it's just the angel of earth. One of innumerable Brahmas, you could say, innumerable angels in manifestation. If you choose to worship it, it will show you that you should not worship and not abuse it. Because then happens that what was known as Houston, we have a problem. Now Houston has a problem, if you know what I mean. And of course, there is a, how can I call it, powers. And attaining that powers is when the monad manifests circulatory motion. Gods walk at the heavens circulatory. We did that too when we were androgynous. We moved in circles. Glory to the Book of Light. Great soul passes by, thrown off. The thirst for personal acquisition. What is the first step on earth for personal acquisition? The thirst. It's a mineral. And throws it off. And spirit grasps more and more. Until spirit can spread its true nature in material world. What is that true nature of the monad? Unconditional love. Right now, the situation of love is quite conditional. You love that person, you hate the other. You love these people, you hate the other people. You love a beautiful woman, but when you see dog do, you are, I tell you something radical now. I always say I'm more radical than any terrorist in the world, just free of violence. Radical in the teaching because it goes contrary to everything that you have heard. When you see a beautiful woman or man or anything that you declare to be beautiful, in the same way, with the same equanimity of mind, which is true freedom and love and happiness, as you see a dog do, then you have reached the point of true immortality. But when you seek selfishly, you attract the power or the action of lower powers. You develop a growing thirst for sensation. And you fall deeper and deeper and deeper into the abyss of matter. And matter is the opposite of that from which you came, of the source. The necessary opposite, I may add. But if you have reincarnated many, many, many times, and you came in contact with the Book of Light, with this knowledge that was hidden for so long, then you may be ready to throw off your thirst for personal acquisition. And then you will feel the oneness with everything. You will feel that there's no difference between a human being or a grain of sand. You will see that a grain of sand is a God in manifestation as well as a human being. Different body, same essence. Glory to the Book of Light, dear friends. Just me talking about this, speaking to you, and you may be just listening to it, may already feel a certain sense of detachment. Everything is thus, in the moment it comes in contact with matter, filled with latent powers and forces. From the lowest atom to the highest God. Which of course per se is no extra cosmic creator. Such a thing does not exist, and you will see. You are your own God. You are the result of your past lives. Whom do you want to blame? Tell me. How long did you waste? How many days and years in your life did you waste blaming others for what they do to you or did to you? Glory to the Book of Light. In the lowest aspect, the sense of selfhood becomes all forms of selfishness. And that led, in Atlantean times, here on the planet, but also in periods on other planets, to the so-called left-hand path. The swastika is rotating counterclockwise, so to speak. And it ends downwards. And the Greek have a beautiful word for it, Tartarus, place of disintegration. And I will come to that. Dear friends, I'm talking here about the rupture of the monad. When somebody walks too much and identifies him or herself too much with the desires of the body, he will be drawn onto the planet of death, to the Mamachohan, painfully disintegrated, and the substance will be added to the elemental substance of the planet in order so that the builders can build new structures along the matrix. When everything reawakens, which happened for our universe, or the entire universe, visible and invisible, about 150 trillion years ago, yes. Then it touches matter, and matter becomes an illusion. Yet matter is no illusion. Is that a contradiction? It's a paradoxon. Matter is as eternal as spirit and as space and as the source. But when spirit touches matter, matter attains a structure which is perishable, transient, which changes. By perishable I mean that not the matter per se perishes, but the form changes. So to whatever form or structure you cling, you shall experience pain when that structure is ripped away from you, and it will be ripped away from you over and over again. And then Prakriti, or the touched on structure of root matter, becomes indeed a Maya, an illusion. As a form, it is an illusion. As the essence, no, it's not. So we all are, when we're looking at our bodies, we look at the illusions. But the essence of these bodies is real. So if somebody, some guru comes to you and says, oh, your body is just an illusion, it doesn't exist in no way, tell him to stick a needle up his behind. And then ask him if that's an illusion when he cries out in pain. We have to understand that Maya. Darwin was not all bad. I wrote a book, Darwin Was Wrong. Well, I mentioned it was not all bad. Excuse me. He mentioned the forms and their development, although not really in the correct form as taught by the Book of Light, but he did great work. Now all these are Mayavic or Mayavi manifestations of Prakriti. In this case of physical matter. And when we see how dense and rigid at the moment things and bodies are, although there was a period on Earth about 9 million years ago during Atlantean epoch where bodies were almost hard as steel. We are now on the ascending arc and everything is refining again. Believe it or not. Glory to the Book of Light. So when we understand Maya, we see that it exists per essence, but it is illusionary when it attains form. because it changes form, and we are aware of a rising and passing away of form. And everything is based on attraction, so there is no gravity or gravitation. There is only karma of the monads that they have. We, as human monads, have karma with earth. This is why we are attached to earth. It's karma. And the atoms are attached together of matter or whatever because they have karma together. That's all. That's all. And there are saints that have detached themselves from the physical body and they almost float. But it's not those frauds and liars who say they fly and yet they hop like handicapped people when they are in the yoga position. This is nonsense. Excuse my coughing, dear friends. I have a pneumonia. And I think I know, it'll keep me long enough alive to pass on to you the message from the Book of Light. Let's dig deeper into the two terms, Manvantara and Pralaya. Let us begin with Manvantara. It actually means Manvantara. Antara means between two manus. More precisely, manu between. What does that mean? Book of Light teaches Manu is a Dhyan Chohan. The Maha Chohan is a Manu, so to speak. Although there is more defined definition of the work that a Dhyan Chohan has, one of it may be a Manu or a sub-emanation of that Manu and so forth. Those entities who appear collectively first at the reawakening of the universe, the beginning of manifestation, and from them everything else, or through everything else, all other monads evolve and fall into material world or into the planes of consciousness prepared to them by the supermonad, by Brahman, the highest. Call it Manu for now. And then they fall into their state of consciousness, which is the continuation of the state of consciousness before the cosmic rest, before the Manvantara of this Manvantara. So you could say Manu is a tree of life of any planetary chain. Spiritual tree of life. Of any manifested being. You could also say Manu is the third of a trinity. You see, there you have these different aspects. And we will come later to that, how the church has abused this trinity aspect. Father, Mother, Son. There's no sex on those levels. No God has sex with the virgin. The meaning of this Virgin Mary is a completely different one. For now, I say it's Mula Prakriti. We will see later. But let us look at this first emanation. I said, let me recall, Manu, spiritual tree of life. The second is Father, Mother, Brahma and Prakriti. And the first is the unmanifested Logos, Brahman. It has a cosmic veil, Pradhana. The first, how should I say, virginic touch of virginic matter, Mula Prakriti. Pradhana means placed before. First appearance of root matter, placed before. Could say around Brahman. as a veil. Mula Prakriti is root matter, root nature, corresponding to it. And the other, or now active pole, why? Because it left the source, is Brahman neuter, supermonad. If you want to reach God, you must be neutral. And now comes the Book of Light, and came the Buddha too and said, you want to reach beyond it? Listen to what I say. You see, I don't say, go beyond the union of Brahman, of the first in manifestation. I don't say that. I say you can if you want, if you will. These Sanskrit terms that I say here have great power. I urge you to study the Book of Light. You see, the Book of Light, you can have it free at no cost at allreligionsunited.com. If you buy it, you may as well pay over $1,000. Not that I get any money from that. That's what it cost. I never get money from my books. Just to make you aware of it. A, I have no permission, and B, I'm not interested in it. I have enough money, and when I don't have enough money, the Chauhan will see to it. But the production of such a work, of such a huge work, costs printing and binding and blah 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 over $1,000. See? I tell you something. If you put money together, maybe with other people, and you get this book, it has great occult powers. It has an aura of sanctity, of liberation, you will profit from it your lifelong. So if you find 10 people or 100 people, and you buy one book and you put it there, and when you meet, you put the book there, this is very beneficent. You don't do me a favor with that. You do yourself a favor. So the first and unmanifest logo, the source of everything, out of that everything else emanates. You know? This is how it works. Now when we come to the term, now we just witnessed the first or a new reawakening or re-embodying of the universe. It is a big bang, but it's not a first big bang. Solve the riddle. Now we take a look at the term pralaya. Sanskrit, dear friends, study Sanskrit. You can do it at no expense at allreligionsunited.com. Pralaya. This is Sanskrit. From Laya, coming from Li, and there's a prefix of pra. What does that mean? The Vedas taught it. The Rig Veda taught it. Long before any scientist on this world, and you dear scientists, I almost exaggerate now, fall on your knees. Study the Book of Light. Show respect to the Rig Veda. Because the term Laya means black hole. What you are searching desperately and are a little bit aware of as birthplace of a new planet or solar system, the black hole, the dark hole, that is Laya. Can you feel the power of Sanskrit? When I say Laya, you are drawn and driven to the dark hole where the planet comes from. In ancient archaic times, on Earth, on the Moon, on other planets before, there were black magicians. They had power over that Laya. If you have power over the Laya point of anything, you can move it with the movement of the finger. More I don't want to say right now. But you will reap as you sow when you do that and when you abuse that power. Li means to dissolve, to melt away. There you have the meaning, to liquefy, as if one puts salt or sugar and salt and puts water upon it. So the salt vanishes in the water. It's a figure, a symbol. That's pralaya. When everything is drawn again into the source, and it will happen. The most foolish sentence I have heard was, we must to sustain our planet Earth. You can sustain nothing. It appears and disappears according to its own laws. That appearance and disappearance you can study in the Book of Light. And you can prepare for yourself a life with as little suffering as possible. That pralaya is also translated as state of latency, of rest, of repose, my dear friends. As above, so below. As the universe appears, is there, is withdrawn again, rests, appears, is there, withdrawn again, rest, appears, and so forth. I could also say goes to sleep. As above, so below. This is why human beings must sleep too. All nature sleeps. Every atom sleeps. Every atom exhales and exhales. And because there is cosmic pralaya or rest, there is, for us humans and so forth, physical rest. Sleep. Sleep. This is pralaya. And after a rest, well, which is actually, it could be an arrest. But since beings are driven by desire, guess what makes them break forth with a cosmic breath? That's how the machine works. Desire makes them leave the source. Glory to the Book of Light. Thirst for life, Trishna. You see, there is one huge Manvantara, period of cosmic activity coming out of Pralaya. That Manvantara, teaches the Book of Light, has the endurance of 311 trillion 40 billion years. So, after that, Pralaya, same length. But during this Manvantara, there are many Manvantaras and Pralayas. There are many rings and rings. Do you want to be the master of the rings? Let go of everything, detach. Then you are not anymore under the influence of Manvantaras. You are not destroyed. You are in nirvana. You want to know how it is? Meditate. So that you don't think here we are theorizing. There's no theory here. Dear friends, the Bible and the Quran, as beautiful as they are promises that can't be held or proven on this earth. They promise you something, life in heaven, and this. Eternal life, which by the way does not exist. So then, soul breath meditation and the teaching of the Book of Light makes you aware of these different planes and brings you in touch with them. So I said there are many kinds of Manvantaras and there are many kinds of Pralayas. Universal Manvantara, 311 trillion 40 billion years. Universal Pralaya, 311 trillion 40 billion years. Now let's go to another Pralaya, solar Pralaya. It is the Pralaya of Surya. Do you think English comes from what does English come? From what does German derive? Greek, Latin. All languages derive from Sansar, and that from Sanskrit. Sanskrit, correctly spoke. But the beings, you see, there's a reason why we have so different languages, and it's explained in the Book of Light how they develop. The reason why we have different languages and not anymore one is that prior to physical evolution there was an ethereal. And only one language was necessary because everything was connected, united in love. But then the beings separated and condensed. They built walls around themselves, and so they hid things from themselves, and that's why they use different languages. And that is the meaning of the Tower to Babel. Glory to the Book of Light, dear friends. Oh, I'm getting emotional. I have to control myself. Where were we? I forgot it now. Oh yeah, the sun. Surya. Sanskrit, which is an adjective form of Saurya. No, the adjective form is Saurya. So a Saurya Pralaya, or the Pralaya of the solar system. That means the disappearance of the solar system, of our solar system. And there are endless many solar systems. Let's look at ours. It also had a Manvantara. When did it appear? Study the Book of Light. So in our solar system we had also a terrestrial or planetary Pralaya. We live on Bhumi. Bhumi. This is the Sanskrit term for earth. Forget the rest. The rest is just interpretations. If you say Bhumi, earth responds better to you than if you say earth. Adjective, for those who are interested in grammar, Bhaumika. Hence, Bhaumika Pralaya. This earth, Bhumi, had a Manvantara, a reawakening from the moon chain. Earth is the reincarnation, the re-embodiment of the moon, which is now, so to speak, dying, surrounding us, showing us always its face. And so, the Bhaumika Pralaya, or the Bhaumika Manvantara, the re-embodiment of Earth, was about 2 billion years ago. 2 billion more or less years ago. It is described in detail in the Book of Light, emanating from the moon chain, and so you see, of course, the moon is older than Earth. All these so-called things that I say to you never lose their connection to the physical plane. We stand with both feet on Earth, dear friends. We don't leave too early in some pseudo-esoterical realms. No need for that. So, the Earth reawakened, re-embodied about 2 billion years ago. It shall disappear, and that, when it reawakened, is called Manvantara. Now we are now in the Manvantara also, because Earth is still there. No, let's hope so. Don't you worry. The Devas, the nature Devas, will never permit a complete explosion of the Earth. A tilting of the axis, yes. Houston, we have a problem. So, and by that I meant, of course, you know that. problems that Texas and so forth has right now in that catastrophe, which is a catastrophe for us. For angel of earth and nature devas, it's a normal thing, like you change the position of your body when you walk. Sounds cruel, that's what it is. So the pralaya then of our earth, when is it? Pralaya means disappearance, reabsorption. Where into? Into laya. That's why pralaya, into the dark hole, is in about 2 billion years. That means Earth appeared from that dark hole, it will be sucked in again into that dark hole. Glory to the Book of Light. This activity counts, of course, also for man. When man is born, it is his manvantara. When man dies, it is his pralaya. When man reincarnates, it is his manvantara. When man dies, it is his pralaya. When man reincarnates, it is his right. Right. You were right when you said manvantara. These are just some examples of various pralayas and manvantaras. There are innumerous manvantaras and pralayas happen. Look at the universe. Stars explode into manifestation. When their light reaches us, in most cases, they are already in pralaya. They are already sucked into their dark holes. It's just a light that's on its way, and we experience, so to speak, a trace of manvantaric existence of a star. Or of an entire solar system, also. So I spoke about some prakritika, nature dissolutions, then of solar pralaya, saurya, and then of bhaumika, which is the passing away of earth. And then also of paurusha, the death of man, and of all their manvantaras too. There is also something, dear friends, that changes continuously in our bodies. And again, we don't live 1 millimeter from Earth. By talking about things that happened zillions of years ago. By that I mean the constant change, the continuous change of the cells of our bodies. Constantly. It means nitya. So we call it nitya pralaya. Because the cells in our bodies live and die, live and die. We once were, millions and millions of years ago, huge cells reproducing by self-division and other methods about which I will talk here. So when I talk about life and death of the cells of the body, I talk about nitya. Now this does not only apply to the body of man, but also to all nature, here or on Venus, or in some parallel universe, or any other planet, doesn't matter. What symbol can we use? You see, symbols are of very important nature, but one must understand those symbols. And when you abuse those symbols, like the swastika, which is nothing but the rotating fire at the first reawakening of the universe, when you abuse it, you'll pay the price. And how did the Germans pay the price? Look at Second World War and its end. That happens when you abuse occult symbols, holy occult symbols. That's what happens. So there is an in-breathing and out-breathing of Brahman or of the Supermonad. And if you ask what is breathing, you could say that is Brahman, the highest being in manifestation. And Brahman at the end of this Manvantara, Maha Manvantara, great Manvantara, inhales again and inhales everything. Sucks everything into the source. We find this breathing symbol, according to the Book of Light, in ancient Egypt texts. For instance, Knumu. I remember Knumu. Breathes forth from his mouth a cosmic egg. That egg, in its abstract Mula Prakritik matrix form, is the source of all other eggs. We were once eggs, protoplasmic eggs. And we reproduced outside other eggs. Now, because of the condensed bodies, the eggs are inside of the female body. Same system, so to speak. That's it, dear friends. My skin sometimes shivers when I talk about this, about the greatness of such teaching, handed to us by the glory of the Ma Chohan. So you find this symbolic also in Orphic hymns. There's a cosmic serpent breathing forth an egg. You know, all mammals are egg produced. No? So, and other animals. If you take a good look at it, everything is egg produced, one way or the other. So, we find the cosmic egg in Egypt as a symbol, in Hindustan, in Peru. There they called the Sanskrit Purusha the Manko Chapak. He had a wife and sister, Mama Oelo. But you see, they didn't mean that two people had sex and the universe came. Or the anthropomorphizing. Excuse me for my poor English. Anthropomorphizing of God as done now by the church, by Christianity, Catholicism, and so forth. But that is a wonderful symbol if you understand it correctly. The egg produces... Now, the egg producing the chick contains the germ of life. By whom laid? By its mother, the hen. And fructified by the other pole of being. Right? And this is how it is. The cosmic egg. Again, the interesting mathematical geometrical teaching in school, it is the dot in the circle. It's the dot in the circle. The germ of life. And if a teacher of geometry shows a circle and its dot, he can say to his students, to even to 5 years old, look at the germ of life. Look at it. You see, what happens when a chick within an egg is formed? What happens? It bursts its shell. And comes forth. That's what the primordial point did. When we draw a circle in school, as a teacher, teachers, listen. We say, look, children, this is the universe before reawakening. This is timeless, eternal space. Here's the circle. Mula Prakriti, root matter. Now, Manvantara, reawakening of life, and you put the dot in the center of the circle. What? It's a cosmic event. Students should shiver when they listen to that. Not that boring. That's a circle, that's a dot. P is 3.1415. What is that? You see the necessity of the Book of Light for children and of the Book of Light itself, dear friends. Yep. And so the primordial point breaks forth too, and we, 20 and more million years ago, when we were huge cells, ovoid cells, the new life broke through the mother structure, was connected for a time with the mother structure, nourished by it, and then grew on itself. The same system here, just transformed into denser forms, and therefore happening inside the form as it happened earlier on outside. And I tell you something, it will happen again outside. We all will be huge protoplasmic eggs. You may ask, where's then progress? I don't want to be an egg. The progress is that you, the true being, are more aware of your divinity than you are now, and than you were when you were in an egg before. Who can fathom it may fathom it, dear friends. I should train myself to talk a bit more. Quiet. I hear the Chohan looking at me with raised eyebrows. Compose yourself, control yourself, Lanu. I have permission by the great Chohan to talk about the following. To talk about morals, right conduct. On what is right conduct based? Upon right views, right thinking. I spoke already about it, maybe, or in many other lectures. But I have to come back to this. We are not here solely for the purpose of intellectual study or for amusement. Oh, let's listen to Lanu, he has some new occult things. That's interesting. We were once eggs, yeah, and then we were once on the moon. Oh, that's so funny. If you think this way, you better watch a Donald Duck movie or some of the computer games. Because we are that serious here. Although with humor, no doubt. Now, morals are something very important. And that has to do also with the sexual part of it. I will talk later more about it. Be moderate in everything. If you can't detach from all of it, and just concentrate on your monadic being, then at least be moderate. And by following the teaching, by listening to that, the process of detachment will be easier. Then I have permission to talk about something else. to talk about ancient mysteries. In ancient mystery schools. In my lectures I pointed towards it many times, but repetition is the best teacher. We have a mythological aspect, which comprises only a portion, a relatively small portion, of what was really taught in the mystery schools. Because the real mystery is that which you dare to experience yourself when you detach from everything. And the foundation again of these mystery teaching was morals. Morals. You can imagine how difficult it was for somebody like me who was a slave of immoral, or let's say of sense-attached behavior. Glory to the Book of Light. Now, these mystery schools, they were also called colleges. And now, not a college like now, not just a temple or building, had also something to do with association. Because you see, we have to go to the source. Collegue, yeah, Latin means associate. Associate. When I look to Northern Europe, to the Teutonic tribes, the Scandinavia, Germanic tribes, and so forth, they all had mystery colleges, but in a sense of initiation. And there were subterranean receptacles. That's where they dared to touch the untouchable. Some did not survive. Some did not survive. You know? Study the Book of Light and then tell me if you are ready for initiation. Not only philosophers, but also scientists try to understand the secret of life. And the secret of life is so simple to understand. A 5-year-old can understand it. Because they, I mean now the adults, and the scientists, they want to make it so complicated, and this is how they caused this insane world. The secret is, you are the cause of your being here. Your desire for life causes your astral, physical, and other forms, although aided by other beings who are also in manifestation periodically. The science or scientists want to understand why the planets are rotating, and they present a childish, although I say a 5-year-old, so this 5-year-old already could destroy their theory. They explain that the planets rotate because once they clash together, now they are in rotation. Dear friends, you can hear already by me presenting you their theory that it can't work. What is the answer? The driving power behind the forms, the atoms, behind movement, and that is the monad or the monads, the beings themselves. The moment a divine being leaves nirvana, or the source, it touches root matter, as we know by now, Mula Prakriti, bringing root matter into circular motion. It is the power of the gods, of the beings themselves, who periodically leave the source, touch root matter, touch down, and cause the rotation. Also the first rotating fire in the universe. Just look into the Book of Light and you will see.
Man should not rule over man. Let knowledge rule again. The Book of Light, Book of Books, and Savior of mankind. Aum. Politicians and religion are the fall of man. We don't need no institutions and no government. All we need is that which once united us all. Let the angels' teaching be your guiding star. It is the book of light, the book of light and love. With the book of light, you're guided from above. We don't need no holy scriptures, no Bible and Quran. We have that where they all come from, in our very hearts. We are the new generation of innocence and peace. Knowledge is our leader, the truth shall set you free. It is the book of light, the book of light and love. With the book of light, you're guided from above. Now we're just a few, but soon we shall be living in a world of peace. With the book of light, the book of light shall be the book of light, the book for you and me. And in the darkest hour of Kali Yuga, when the world is burning left and right, there is a pillar of hope, and it is called the Book of Light. It is the Book of Light, the Book of Light and love. With the Book of Light, you're guided from above. It is the book of light. It is the book of
They call it nebula theory. Dear scientists, you claim that rotation derives from particles of matter crushing into each other and then rotation appears. When you are witness the birth of a planet or solar system, what you first will be aware of is a rotating fire. There are yet no dense particles, but there is already rotation. Where does it come from? And there, glory to the Book of Light, the Book of Light explains it so simple. When the monad, the divine being, touches root matter, it causes rotation. It causes root matter, mula prakriti, to rotate around itself. This is why the atom, or the atomic particles, rotate. Although they move so fast that you couldn't even call it on that level rotation. But that's something else, we'll talk about that later. There we have the explanation for rotation. It is the monad. And your explanations, dear scientists, are simply childish. And a child could rebut them. A child could say, how can that be? Even if rotation is caused by that, why is it still going on? Who keeps rotation alive? Who keeps the planets rotating around the sun? Well, sooner or later, the Book of Light teaches they will fall into the sun and be dissolved. Okay, but all of that is done by karma of the angels of Earth and of other planets. They have karma with the angel of the sun. It is correctly explained in the Book of Light that at the relative reawakening, first there's a great fire, then there are little fires. The great fire tries to devour the little ones. They try to escape. That keeps them in a karmic balance until pralaya. I fully understand, dear friends, when you listen to this, that you may reach a state of confusion. Doesn't matter. Continue listening. Keep your own opinion aside for a while. When I see a scientist like Laplace stating that nebula is in a condition of slow rotation, circular moving in orbits, and the planets and the sun now move around their axis. And the scientists, Laplace too, conclude from that rotation and revolution is derived from a mechanical, original circular motion of the primal nebula. But what causes that primal rotation? Wake up, follow the Book of Light, study it, understand the power that is behind each rotation. And then a scientist like Laplace, who is unable to explain to us the cause of rotation, which the Book of Light teaches the cause of rotation is the being touching root matter, touching material world. The gods communicate in circles, in circular motion. Laplace says that there was a hot, immense object, it cooled. As it cooled, it shrank, according to a certain law of heat. Who invented that law? He would have been correct if he would have said, according to the law of karma and reincarnation, that all monads have with each other. Now, look at a wheel, The parts of that wheel, which are nearest the periphery, nearest the circumference, move with greatest momentum and with greatest speed, but not faster, in another sense, than the particles at the hub. What about this increase of rapidity and whirling around? Dear friend, think about that, meditate about that. It's all karma. Be it the monad of an atom, or of a universe, or of a human being. It's in rotation. And when we once were in a divine state, also in the physical body, we moved in rotatory motion. We were oval. The androgen race had 4 arms, 4 legs, or other parts, and walked and moved circular. Now, they say the nebular body contracted and condensed its matter. Why does matter condense? Because of the desire aspect of the monad, of the being. Not because of matter itself. And on its way out, back to the source, everything becomes a more refined state of matter, meaning increase of radioactivity. Dear friends, without the Book of Light, without the knowing that something causes the rotation, you will be rebutted by a child in your silly teaching. Why was the teaching of the Book of Light hidden? Why was it hidden? Because mankind was not ready for it any longer. They abused holy teaching. And there's a great danger that this teaching is being abused too. Let's hope that not. What is the defect in the theory of Laplace, or of science per se? Because it is a purely mechanical, purely mechanistic, purely materialistic hypothesis. You cannot explain the movement of matter without something that makes it move. When I put something into motion, I am not that something. I put it into motion. In the same way the monad puts everything into motion. And then we as races, when we had circular motion and we were male, female and one, were separated now, we have the problem. Why was separation of the sexes? All that has to do with it. Even mathematics cannot explain the entire thing by purely mechanical, purely mechanistic explanations. But if they would look at the circle and its center, there you have the entire teaching. And then the swastika, but not abused like those nutty people. No. When the center dot, the center point, appears in the circle, it causes rotation, as you can see with the swastika. That dot in the circle, in the center of the circle, is the answer to the secret of the cause of rotation. Well, but the Book of Light will not completely discard scientific teaching. I always say that. Science is right to a certain extent. They lack the other half. That's the Book of Light. Oh, dear friends. Now, even in the nebula theory, there is some truth. In the scientific nebula theory. What is that? But what is also that which leads away from the truth? Let's start with that. A vital defect. The theory. Put aside the action of spiritual beings in the universe as the agents who made matter move. First, made it move refined, then condensing to the planets of today, although Earth is already on the way back to the source in a much more refined state of being than it was, for instance, 9 million years ago. We do not deny, dear friends, this goes so deep. The Chohan is watching. I look for words. I search for words with my poor knowledge of the English language. And I thank my editor, my publisher, Elke Straube, who translated the English Book of Light, dictated to me by the Maha Chohan, into the German Buch des Lichts. The Book of Light does not deny mechanical action in the universe, but it declares that when there is a mechanical action, there is something causing that mechanism, producing the movements of the mechanism in accordance with what, dear friends? With karma. With karma. There are givers of law, makers of law, impulsors. Beyond that is the source. What those dear scientists don't know, that is that behind the cosmos there are gods, spiritual beings, spiritual entities. It doesn't matter how they're called. You are per se a spiritual entity in this material physical world. And these are imperfect beings. Call them gods, call them gods. They are imperfect, otherwise they wouldn't be in manifestation. They make mistakes because of necessity. Dear preachers, don't preach a perfect God who intentionally creates this imperfect world and then punishes it for being imperfect. Don't insult God this way. Are you insane? These gods in manifestation make mistakes because of necessity. So what we see around us, well, look at this imperfect world. And nature is not perfect. All evolved from the source. And we will come to that source. We will dig deep into that source. Mistakes, imperfections arise, dear friends. And this is why you have to come back over and over and over again until you get complete control over that part of Mula Prakriti that you have taken on. That knowledge was hidden because mankind adored itself in the form, and the spiritual aspect became more and more secondary, third, fourth, and the way down. So that truth was always known and always taught in ancient rooms of initiation and so forth and so on. Now for the first time, fully revealed in the Book of Lights. But it was known. And later, split into the religions of today, causing all that havoc, yet containing in their core this teaching I am revealing now to you, and this is why those people don't have to chop their heads off any longer. They can even continue to practice their religion, but now with a common understanding, common sense understanding of the core of that religion. Dear friends, there is another defect of the nebula theory. I said it was first burning. because that is what we would be aware of with our senses. But even that is not the truth, because there is a step before that, which can only be comprehended mentally now. You see, the Book of Light is a mental bridge to that which you only can enter when you then drop even manas, rupa, your mental body, your mentality. But mentality leads to it. The Book of Light teaches that indeed it is glowing. See, when a planet first arrives, when the monad leaves the source touching matter, there is a rotating fire, but that fire, it is glowing, but it is a cold light. With our senses then perceivable now, we would say it's a hot light. Yeah, it will be hot. But it's not in its earliest stages incandescent burning. It is glowing, but with a cold light. Look at the light of a firefly, you could say. It's not hot. It's not hot. No. It is an electric thing. Book of Light calls it fohat on all levels. Cosmic electricity. There is no heat in the first nebula seen or happening, I should say, at the reawakening of the monad that leaves the source to fall into matter. This is this luminosity. It's no combustion. Later, when everything condenses more and the friction is there, then yes. It is a nebula. This light in the first appearance out of Laya, out of the dark hole or black hole of science, is a nebula with luminosity, but not from combustion of any kind. What is glowing then? It is indwelling Daivi Prakriti. It is the divine nature of light, manifesting in Mula Prakriti. And that light manifests in sentient beings in a higher form as consciousness in all degrees, from the highest spiritual to the most dull physical consciousness. Dear friends, and now comes the radical teaching. You are not even that consciousness. We have to smile at that, because it goes so deep, because I'm talking also here, or presenting to you the possibility to detach from all these states of beings as early as I now present them to you. Glory to the Book of Light, dear friends. I gotta take myself back into equanimity of mind. That is the Daivi Prakriti, the divine nature of light glowing. Something else is wrong. We come to the right of the rotational theory. Yes, we don't condemn science. We offer to science to work together with the Book of Light. Let us look to another vital defect of the teachings of Laplace or of other scientists of today who think rotation is basically a mechanical thing. No. You will see then that that particle of matter does not rotate anymore. It stumbles a little bit, because the monads have left it. Solve the riddle. Sun and the planets were not born as science teaches by nebula theory. What does the Book of Light teach? Repetition is the best teacher. Of the birth of sun and the planets. When we look at a solar or planetary body, let's say in our solar system, sun and planets, although you could name it or you could use it analogically somewhere else too. This is the result of a former cosmic entity, it's karma. And when it entered into pralaya, let's say prakritika pralaya, its lower principles. Oh, wonderful. You see, the Book of Light was dictated to me. And most of it, I forgot again, and I'm not reading from the Book of Light now. But when I talk about what was dictated to me, all that comes back to me. So, a planet or a sun of a solar system, so forth, is caused by karma. And its lower principles were dissolved. And at the end of its life cycle and circle, the lower principles were dispersed, and existing latently, I mentioned that already in the beginning, as skandhas. It is, as the Book of Light teaches, a laya condition from the root li. Remember? Good. This is the black hole, the mystical point. Through that black hole, a thing disappears from one plane to the other, to reappear on another plane, which is why the moon is the mother of the earth and older than earth. And again, I bring that example of salt and water, and when you put, of salt and sugar, let's say. When you put water on it, it dissolves. Salt and sugar dissolves into water. This you could call or compare with the dissolution of a planet. It has entered into something else. And that's how it works. Now, the lower principles rest but await to be reawakened through the skandhas. This is how we could compare or explain the situation of nirvana or of interplanetary nirvana of those planets. The beings and monads themselves are liberated for a while, but they have not yet overcome, and so the skandhas draw them back into reincarnation. Be it a mouse, be it an atom, be it a solar system, it does not matter. Dear friends, you are not the vehicle. You are not these lower principles, but you have attracted them. You as the monad are not that. You better say, I am the monad who has the body, I tell you. Because when we die, the physical body breaks up, has its own pralaya or dissolution. Now when you look at its molecules, its particles, they go into a laya state too. And they remain there for a while until the vibration becomes so strong that they surround around a new fructified womb, in that case through sexual reproduction, which was never meant to be for us. We talk about that later. And the monad is, because it had not yet overcome that state of being, is driven, is drawn into reincarnation. Reincarnation. Let me put it more accurately. It happens until there is an indwelling impulse in each monadic particle through a thirst for active being, and rises forth into manifestation, re-enters some body of appropriate kind that equals genetically the action of the past life, be it of a monad or human, or be it of a planet. Glory to the secret of initiation. It has also to do with something that has been so misunderstood, even by theosophists: transmigration into animals. The lower elements from the animals, the astral drag of animal or physical man, become the principle of later beast world. This is why the Book of Light teaches all animals derive from humans. Not from humans like now, but as they were before. The animals separated first into genders, then the humans. Animals about 25 million years ago, humans about 18 million years ago. Animals are human dregs cast off by man. And so, in that way, they are part of us. And we share their karma, dear friends. Though a human being cannot reincarnate in an animal. Exceptions where that happens. We talk about that later. But basically, they cannot reincarnate into a animal being. Let us take a look again. Let's return to the planet and its reincarnation. Glory to the Book of Light.
Man should not rule over man. Let knowledge rule again. The Book of Light, Book of Books, and Savior of mankind. Aum. Politicians and religion are the fall of man. We don't need no institutions and no government. All we need is that which once united us all. Let the angels' teaching be your guiding star. With the Book of Light, you're guided from above. We don't need no holy scriptures, no Bible and Quran. We have that where they all come from, in our very hearts. We are the new generation of innocence and peace. Knowledge is our leader. The truth shall set you free. It is the Book of Light, the Book of Light and love. With the Book of Light, you're guided from above. last hour of Kali Yuga, when the world is burning left and right, there is a pillar of hope, and it is called the Book of Light. It is the Book of Light, the Book of Light and Love. With the Book of Light, you're guided